welcome to your wealthiest timeline. This isn't just content, it's a frequency field. Every video transmits codes of power, remembrance, and divine prosperity. If you're here, you're not here to learn, you're here to lead, to collapse timelines, bend reality, and build your empire through energy. I'm Eva Kositsky, Wealth Oracle and Guide for leaders who came to live as the vibration of overflow. Let's begin.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Vibration of Wealth podcast. I am so freaking excited today, guys, because I have a very beautiful guest all the way from LA. Hey. Welcome, Krista Williams. How are you going today, my love?
Oh, I'm pumped to be here. I was like, I could tell by all your stuff that your community is super dialed and super powerful and just super on it. So I was really looking forward to this conversation and I can't wait to see where we go.
Amazing. I am so excited. So our audience can have a little bit of a feel about you and get into your energy a little bit more and start to receive some of your codes and your magic. Just share a little bit about yourself, how you even got into this work, because, well, let's face it, it's not the stock standard conditioning line of work that we were all sort of trained to be in. So yeah, talk us through how you got here.
Yeah, so my name's Krista, and most people know me as host and co-founder of Almost 30. So Almost 30 is a podcast turned community. And really it started from me feeling super lost in life and me hitting a rock bottom and wanting change and wanting to become the person that I know I came here to be. I have a mission here as a soul, and I'm sure you feel that as well, and your community does. And when I was in the corporate world, when I was living in Ohio where I grew up, I just felt so frustrated because I knew that there was more for my life, and I knew that there was more creativity and love and expansiveness and expression available to me, but I didn't know how to find it. So Almost 30 became the vehicle for that. It really started on the closet floor with my best friend, just us talking shit, laughing, figuring life out together. And then it's really grown into a global brand and community. And now it's led me to do retreats and work with women one-on-one and really just follow more of my soul's path. But really my life's been led 100% by my soul. And sometimes that doesn't mean it's always beautiful. It means it can be rock bottoms and confusing and you can feel lost a lot of times, but it's also led to a lot of beauty and a lot of magic.
I love that so much because it really is messy. I feel like that there's two paths in life. There's the path of conditioning, the path of the ego, and then there's the path that I love Pocahontas. I love the Disney because it's like, yes, everything has a shadow, but it's the like choose Cocoam or go down the river, and you can follow that wild path, and it will take you into the darkest depths of despair and crying cracked open on the floor, feeling like it's never going to work out, to the highest of highs, to the lowest of lows. And it's the most beautiful, most miraculous path. And I actually had this download this morning before we jumped on, which was the people that have the life that looks like it's everything, the life where they're really living into pure wealth consciousness, are the people that have hit rock bottom the most, that have felt pain more than most people, because it's the law of polarity, and heaven on earth doesn't come without feeling hell on earth. So with that said, Krista, anyone watching the YouTube, you can see Krista's this gorgeous angelic woman that's just like glowing. Like I can feel your energy, your presence. You've done the work. Talk us through what that's looked like for you. How, I'm going to take a stab in the dark here, but how it has evolved and has gotten easier for you as you've gone on this journey and as you have stepped into your leadership and stepped into your essence so that you can be the medicine to help so many women around the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's one of the biggest compliments, honestly. If someone's like, I can tell you've done the work, and it kind of makes me emotional to think about, because I think in life we kind of look for the compliments, or before I was looking for the compliments, like, you're beautiful, you're smart, all of the external things. But if someone's like, you've done the work, I'm like, thank you for witnessing and recognizing the hell and back that I've been through and the harder path in life. But what I can say about, doing the work in the past couple years is that it's been a long journey, and it's been hard, but there really isn't any other option. There is no other option for us other than to evolve and grow, and other than to find other ways to love ourselves. I think when you do hit that rock bottom, you're like, okay, I could end my life. That for me was my option, and trigger warning, that was like kind of an option that I was playing with for a long time. Or I could figure out how I could be at peace with myself, how I could stand with myself, how I could become the person that I came here to be. And I chose that larger, longer path. And I think what you were talking about before, just wanted to hit on this before I continue, like the hero's journey. Like a lot of the people in your community and us, we're on a hero's journey. Like it means you go out into the unknown. It means you leave home behind. It means you don't know where you're going. It means you listen to the soul nods. Like there's a whole mythic journey of life that we're all on, which is so beautiful, which is so rich, which is so expansive. And when you can really tune into that frequency over anything else, it just becomes so beautiful. So just at the highest level, I think for your audience, the way that I see the work, I've done tons of different modalities and practices, darkness retreats, silent retreats, every therapy, every psychedelic drug you could do. But what I really realized was that the work is really finding every single part of me that I don't love and learning to love it. And it's really, truly that simple. Like the work is all the things that you do not love about yourself, finding a way to make peace with them, finding a way to honor them, and finding a way to love them. And that really is the hardest work. Oftentimes, so much work that we do is kind of like trying to balm or solve aspects of ourselves. But really, it's like, how can you love the part of you that you truly hate or you were told to hate? And that's what I've really learned to do over time. And I was even on the phone with a client the other day, and she's really struggling with the breakup. She went through a really hard breakup, and she really wants to be with him, and she doesn't see a life without him and is really struggling. And she really also hates that part of her that's so connected to him, in breakups that can happen. And she said, how did you figure out how to love that part? And I just said, I committed to, no matter what, loving every part of me, even if it took years, even if it was hard. I literally made the commitment to love all the bad aspects, all the, aspects I used to reject, and really just becoming into more wholeness. And this as well as I, that's when we become the most magnetic. That's when we become the most wealthy, the most feminine. And we just live the life that we are meant to live, because it's all of us that's included. We're not rejecting or disowning any parts.
I love this so much, and there's so many things coming up as you're.
I know it was hard when you were talking too. I was like, wait a second. I wanted to get my cat out. I'm like, I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about that.
Well, I love these conversations so much because they're so enriching, and it's that there's so many freaking pieces to this. There's so many pieces, and I can relate to your client. I've been in a lot of relationships. I've ended all of the relationships, but I could see so many wounds in all of the relationships. And even though I'd ended the relationships, seeing them with other people, or bringing up those wounds within me, and having to look at the parts of me that are attached to them, and remembering. I think there's this huge piece to remembering that they are a reflection of you, and they are not this entity that's separate from you. They are you on the big screen. And for me, when I've approached life that way, and I've learned that, through plant medicine and through many healing modalities, and really being able to remember that I'm creating this movie. Why do I keep tuning into that picture? Why am I? Because there's a timeline where I'm still married to them. There's a timeline where I've never met this person. Why do I keep choosing to magnetically attach to that timeline and that piece? And I'd love to hear about how you have been able to navigate those stickiness and fall deeper and deeper in love with yourself, so that you can come into more wholeness, which I truly feel that's what this journey is about.
Yeah. And I can even, and again, just to lay the foundation, I'm not perfect. I have those moments too where, even in my dating process, I had my mirrors come up where I was like, I keep going for men that are unavailable and men that are, live in a different country or don't want kids or all of these different things. And you really have to have the inquiry, like you were talking about, of why am I creating this? Why am I attracted to this? And I go about that in two different ways. And I think the first way is by just thinking about it as a neural pathway. For so many of us, we just have this really well trodden neural pathway that really wants to have someone like us and wants to prove our worth and wants to be chosen and all of these things. And for many women, especially the Disney movie watchers, that's a really deep neural pathway that we've been grooving since we were really young, to be chosen, to make them change for you, to have them like finally come back to you, all of these things. And then secondly, I think about it from a parts perspective. So internal family systems is this really amazing psychotherapy technique that I practice and teach. And in it, there's a part of us that gets really attached to this person or relationship and believes that we can only get and receive love through that person. So as an example, when you're with someone that you love, say you fall in love with someone, your man in this case, there's a part of you that believes that it only will feel love and only will feel that feeling by being in relationship with that person. And so when that person goes away, you think you've lost that love and you think you've lost that feeling forever. But when we actually kind of turn it around and bring this part in, we can let it know that we actually can feel that feeling at any time. It's us that's cultivating and generating that feeling, and that we can love ourselves even without having that person. But it's really the part that's kind of addicted to that feeling that it thinks it gets externally. And this is a part of the ascension process as spiritual beings, where we think everything is outside of us, and then we realize it's all in us. And so my path with this has really been that inquiry, like you were talking about, where I first took deep responsibility for my life. Like, I'm responsible for everything in my life, and my life is completely made up of all the choices that I've made, and everything that happens to me, I need to look at because I've created it. So taking that responsibility actually makes things easier, because then you're like, oh, I can change my movie, like you were talking about. And then we look at what's sort of coming up here, what's the lesson, and then I work with things usually through parts work. But it's really powerful in relationships to kind of think of everything as a lesson and everything as a reflection, because then it can just make things so much less intense and deep, because I know relationship stuff can be so hard.
Yeah. It always brings up our mirrors and the parts of us. And I've noticed on my journey, with every new level, there's this ego death that has to take place. There's this initiation into the next level. And I think when we can understand this journey of life of, nature has its course. Everything in nature has this unique rhythm. And, the bear goes to hibernate, the snake sheds its skin, the caterpillar goes into a chrysalis to become a butterfly. And we have these seasons, and I love understanding the seasons and the rhythms and seeing the wound transcend. And I look at when I'm about to go into a huge up level and things are coming off and I'm purging and weird things will happen and I'll hurt my back. And I'm like, okay, I'm supported. And then the energy purges out. And it's this ability, when you have the wisdom and the remembrance of how nature works, it doesn't hurt so much because you understand the process. And, we'll never fully understand. The ego always wants to try to control everything. But having that awareness really, really helps when I'm in my ego death phases, when I'm going through this purge and I'm going through glow ups, or when I need to hibernate in the void. And I'd love to hear about how you've navigated your seasons with life, because personally, I feel that a lot of women are watching everyone on social media and it's like, these are my wins, I'm making this money. And, I love that everyone's celebrating. I love that so much. I think it's beautiful, but I don't think we're giving enough energy to the work. I would love more of, I made the $1 million months, but do you know what I went through to get them? Do you know the purging, the healing, the relationship wounds I had to embody and sit with and glow with, and not just kind of showing the outcome so much as to allowing people to understand the process so that women don't feel so alone. And I'd love to also dive deep with this, because I know that you love speaking about femininity, but I feel like a lot of our trauma is stored in the womb and in the root chakra. And there's not enough information out there for women doing this energy work, understanding where it's stored in our body so that we can go to the next level. So I'd love to hear your insights on that.
Yeah, and I know you're in your own phase of transition right now too, and you're kind of going through your own, which is really powerful. But yeah, I was kind of getting a little emotional when you were talking because it was reminding me as a public figure person, whatever I am, a teacher, how important really sharing the work is, and sharing kind of the crunchy moments and sharing the hard moments. And a lot of almost 30 started because we were just in crunchy. We were just in bad. Like I had a really bad health scare. I put on like 30 pounds in a month. I felt really uncomfortable in my body. I was in jobs I didn't like. I was in a relationship that was unaligned. I was struggling with my friendships and was in debt and all of the things of the rock bottom. And was just got on the mic and sort of sharing all of that and sort of sharing really how hard it was. And I do feel like as you kind of go along, you share less of the hard times, you share less of what's challenging, but there's such a magnetism and there's such a connection that happens when you share what's really going on. So you're inspiring me, basically, is what I'm saying, to share more of that process, because I think I could be a little bit better about that. It's almost like nowadays, if I'll be so deeply in the work, I don't even want to share with anyone. I'm a very internal processor, so I won't want to do anything. But it's interesting now in my life because I think being this age, being in my 30s, I can now see the seasons of my life much more clearly. I think when I was in my 20s, I didn't have enough of a view of my life to see that I was living in seasons, and to see that some seasons were, more rest, and some seasons were more failure, some seasons were more abundant and some weren't. And so now I can kind of see the seasons of my life much more clearly and see how they go and see how they navigate and see how they sort of move. And what I do know about seasons of life is that oftentimes it's when we go out into the unknown and we go on a timeline that we don't know where it's going is when we're on the right path. I think if we really want to live the life that we love, that's expansive and beautiful and powerful, we have to go out into the unknown. And when I was probably at my lowest, in the past couple years was when I was in my marriage and we were really struggling and I was really struggling in that relationship. I was in a job at almost 30 I really loved, but I felt like not as expressed as I wanted to be. I felt kind of limited and I was depressed, and leaving that relationship and stepping into a new timeline that I didn't know where it would go. And I didn't know what season it would put me in at all. Like I had no idea where it would leave me, to becoming some of the best years of my life and the greatest decision of my life. So all that to say that going out into the unknown and really knowing that like life will meet you when you choose yourself and the path that will lead you to the better season that you're in than when you are now. And then as it relates to femininity in the womb, we women are so intuitive and psychic. And so a lot of my work is with women and then empaths as well. So when you're going through a lot in life emotionally, you're processing a lot and you're doing the work, you are feeling it from an emotional level and also from a physical level. So when we leave our body behind, when we're processing grief or trauma or sexual assault or a breakup, like we're actually not doing ourselves a service, and the cells are going to remember. And the womb space is such a space for creativity and for life and also death. So if you have a breakup or if you are creating a new project, it's oftentimes it starts in that space. So being really mindful energetically about how you're moving and clearing energy, which oftentimes means that we're bypassing the mind, that we're not including the mind in the conversation. We're kind of letting the body move energy somatically and just kind of release and cry and dance and whatever the things are, because oftentimes we'll kind of be so in the mind with processing things that it limits ourselves. So yeah, the womb is a really powerful, important space for anyone here that's doing the work or processing things. And what I'll do as an example, I was on a flight a few months ago, and I was really, I had some really bad energy around me, or there was an entity or something. Something was up with my energy because I had really negative thoughts that didn't feel like mine. And I remember just going into the bathroom and just putting my hands in my womb and just clearing my womb with my energy and with my love and with my intention, and just started bawling. I just was bawling my eyes out because I had taken on this energy or this entity that wasn't mine. It was foreign to me. And just by holding and being with my womb space and just allowing it to release and clear, I was able to move a lot of that energy. So anyone and any woman can do it at any time, but it's really important to think about it in the process.
I love that so much. And it's really fascinating because I always love the notion of not moving with fear. And anyone listening to this right now, and there's so many things that always come up. And I understand that too, because I feel like at the start of my journey, I did share all of the processing things, all of the crazy things. And now that I'm really in the throne era, you know, it's like we command reality. Things collapse into us. We don't chase if it isn't aligned. Like if it's not completely effortless, it's not for me. And so because we're in this energy and we're not in the phoenix phase where we're constantly like burning and, you know, trying to be the warrior, it's a very, very different energy. And anybody listening to this podcast in the Phoenix energy that might be sort of going through all of those karmic cycles, burning and collapsing, and every era serves us so beautifully. But my point to this is never having fear. Like Krista so gracefully just walked into the bathroom. We don't fear entities or foreign energies or things like that. And I think there's this art to always protecting your energy, always having control of your vehicle, and actually having the beautiful discernment like you did in that moment to not take that on. And that shows such beauty and understanding of your vehicle, because a lot of people would have felt that energy and been like, well, why am I sad? Why am I depressed? Instead of just being like, oh, this isn't me. Like, oh, get away from me. I always just go, gross, like, bye.
Yeah. You're like, loser.
Not today.
No, I'm reflecting back, and I think it's great that you're doing this because I want to expand upon what was happening. And I think that's a really great point, because so there's a few things that are happening in that moment that I didn't even really consciously think about. First is knowing that like my thoughts are perfect, my thoughts are of God. So if there are thoughts that are not perfect, they're not mine. And so they're an entity, it's someone else's energy, it's something else. So if I have something like that, I'm immediately aware of it. And I'm kind of like, oh, that's not me and that's not mine. Second, and you know this as well, I have dominion over my experience. I have dominion over my life. I have agency over my life. And that means both in the physical 3D, and that means spiritually. So there's no entities, thought forms, beings, demons, whatever, that have any say about who I am, what I do, or how I live my life. So I am in complete control of that relationship. So getting that spiritual like badassery is what I call, so you can have like dominion over your space, is really powerful. And then knowing that you also have the power to alchemize, you also have the power to transform, you also have the power to change the situation and circumstance. And all it takes is compassion and love and time and attention. And so just doing all of those together can be supportive for any woman. So if you feel like you're depressed or anxious, or you have just really lack thoughts, or kind of thoughts that don't feel like you, or thoughts that just feel foreign, it's really identifying and recognizing it not as you. You could ask it to leave. You could do a whole ritual. That's like a whole other podcast. But just knowing that it's not you is first helpful, and then just using love and compassion.
I love that so much. And I really feel that, because I obviously do a lot of energy work. You're always keeping your energy clean. Like we're all our own healers. You know, I don't use the word healer. I'm an energy worker, because I never want to take people's power away. I'm like, I can't heal you. I can hold the frequency. You can choose to calibrate to it, but I can't physically change things if you're not willing to change yourself. And so this whole notion of, you know, keeping our energy clean, having this ability to walk through life. And I don't know if you've heard of the teacher, Dr. Dane Herr, and he does the access consciousness, but he speaks about how 99.99999% is not us. You know, it's not us. And whether you choose to believe that or not, you can choose whichever beliefs you desire. But it's so interesting, because it is this notion of just let it go, you know, let it go. Like, oh, we are just pure love. We're just pure love. And if we can look at life through the eyes of the soul, not through the distortions of the ego, life is really easy. You know, the pain doesn't hurt. It's just like, thank you for purging. Like, thank you, tears, for like releasing the toxins. And I would love to know like what rituals you're doing on the daily to keep your energy clean, how you have this really beautiful feminine magnetism, and you've obviously worked very, very hard to create this aura, this field that allows you to draw things into you, that allows the opportunities to come so effortlessly. And I can see it in your eyes and in your glow, like you're really embodied in what you're doing, which is so beautiful. And lots of people could just look at you and go, wow, she's gorgeous, but there's a backstory. And, you know, and I'd love to just know a little bit about like the feminine glow up codes you've been able to tap into, how you've what work you've done on yourself to get here, obviously beyond all of the healing modalities that you already mentioned
I
earlier.
would love to hear yours too, because sister, we're going to be swapping. I want to hear these when I'm done.
Yeah.
So feminine globe codes, I would say the first thing is I never thought I'd be talking about femininity and being in my feminine. I remember for so long being in the relationship that I was in and building the business with almost 30 while I had a full-time job. I was like, oh, I was annoyed by it. I was like, everyone needs to shut up, leave me alone. Like I need to burn out. I need to work. I was the husband in my relationship and I was the boss at work. So like I was like telling Lindsay what to do. I was telling my husband what to do. Like I was just fully in my masculine in frame. And a lot of it was because I wasn't safe in that relationship to soften and to be, whatever. And then a lot with Lindsay was because I was afraid. I was so afraid that what I had worked so hard for would fall away, that it would end, that something bad would happen. So I had this masculine shield that I was really living in. And what happens when you have a masculine shield is you have this subconscious belief that you're not safe, that you can't soften, and that you can't be who you truly are. And being feminine is about being who you truly are. It's not about being anything else. It's not about playing a role. It's not about acting. It's like the truth of who you are as a woman is your feminine essence and your masculine met in a beautiful way. And so this shield caused me to hold on to weight. It caused me to have a different body shape. It caused me to just be less fun to be around. I was like just a different frame and experience. And so what's really led me to the glow up and led me to be in this experience where I'm very much in my feminine and I live my life and lead my life in a feminine way that feels authentic to me was leaving the relationship. I wish it was a different answer because I've said this answer and this man is getting way too much credit for whatever that relationship was. I'm like, it's not that deep for him, but it was. So because I was able to then soften, I was able to then get out of this calibration that my energy was doing to someone that didn't like me, that I didn't like. So you most likely will not be able to be in your most radiant, beautiful, magnetic energy if you are constantly with someone and in a toxic relationship. That toxic calibration of energy is happening to you all day and all night if you're sleeping together. So you just will never be as beautiful as you want to be or radiant as you want to be if you're in a toxic relationship. So that was the first thing that I did, was got out of that relationship. And then that led me to go on this path of healing and really choosing myself. And then choosing myself meant I was feeling my feelings. So then I was eating less because I was using food to avoid feeling. It also meant that I was slowing down and resting because I didn't feel like I had to hold an entire relationship up. I didn't feel like I had to hold an entire business up. And it allowed my body to soften and relax. So much of my glow up, if I've had one, has been energetic, has been spiritual. It's been, my commitment to my rituals, whether that's prayer every morning or whether that's, seeing my Kabbalah teacher once a month, or whether that's any of the other work I've done with any healers. It's all really just made me glow in a way that I really never thought was possible. And it's so funny, even my audience, like, they'll be like, what skincare are you using? And they're like, don't say God. I'm like, I swear, you guys, I'm like, God is the best skincare. Like, it's just like, it's going to get you glowing. Like, but like that connection to your soul is the radiance that we all want. Okay, so now your turn.
Okay. I like so many. I love hearing people's stories because I always look at how our frequencies align to even be on this podcast together. Like, it's, even though I have nothing to do with podcast guest selection, but it's crazy that my team finds people that are so aligned. I'm like,
Go team.
I know. I was like, feminine, right? Feminine. I was exactly the same. Heavily masculine, running one of Australia's biggest event planning companies. Very, very successful. A woman took a photo of me at one of my events, like half the masculine, and then pulled it to the feminine, and I looked like a butch Russian. She called me a butch Russian lesbian, and I was like, Thank you. And I didn't understand the concept of feminine. It slowly started knocking on my door as I went through an awakening, and I didn't know I had to leave my husband. Like, it was so obvious because the whole relationship was toxic. I never wanted to be in the relationship. I was trapped because I had weak boundaries. There's just so much entanglement. We have 3 beautiful kids together, and we co-parent so cleanly, so amicably, but it's been so much work to get that boundary there now, to have this clean energy between us. And for me, it was God 100% softening. Honestly, it felt like a year in the void of just crying, like letting go of everything, letting go of every offer in my business that was performance based. Anything I had to like fill spaces for retreats or do anything, to this digital empire now where it's so effortless. I'm not going to hustle to get spots filled. Like, people buy from me while I'm sleeping. Rest is a growth strategy. I'm so okay to rest. I listen to my body. I think my body is my biggest teacher, and being connected to God. God is everything. And I'm not somebody that's in organized religion. I want everybody to come in. I always say God, angel, source, universe, because I never want anybody that has that connection to God to not understand these teachings, because they're potent. But on the 3D, obviously, because you love yourself more, you're doing different things like dry brushing, energetically getting rid of the dead cells every day. I do sauna, I do ice bath. Like, I'm always clearing the toxins, purging things from my skin, religious massages and energy healing sessions. And, we look after our bodies like they are sacred, because they are. It's a temple. And it's crazy. I'm 36 now, and I know I look younger than I've ever looked in my entire life. I do believe that old souls that are on this journey don't age. I always say I'm reversing my aging. I'm like, I don't believe in aging. That's not something I subscribe to. And play, joy. I cannot do boring. And if you're not animated, I can't be around you too long, because I'm like, like, we need the spice.
That's so funny. I have a friend, and she's the one, you'll tell a story, and she's like, oh my God, she's like, I can't, she's just like, she is my most addictive friend to tell stories, because I'm like, yeah, that's right. Like, and then I remember, I never forget, I had a dinner with a friend, and I was telling a story, and she's like, and I was like, oh, I'm never talking to her again. Not that I didn't say that, but I thought about that in my mind. I was like, I need a little something back here. Like,
yeah. I know, life it's play, it's joy. I'm like, I sing, I dance, I'm not a great singer, but you'll always catch me singing like a weirdo and rhyming, because I'm like, it's just who I am. And I spent years like doing this behind closed doors with all my friends, and I'm like, I'm always on camera, I'm always doing lives when I get the channel to jump on. I don't set up times in my business, it's just like, when I'm on, I enjoy it. I try to take a lot of time off. Like, I try to be only like 2 days on in my business, and I don't even do full days. Like, it's just, and then I'll, channel everything and then get my team to share it, because my business isn't my life. And it used to be everything. And I'm like, I'm here to serve. I'm the medicine for billions of people on this planet, but I'm not going to be a slave to you to give you the medicine. It's like, I can't give you the medicine if I'm not tapped into the frequency all day, every day. And so it's enjoyment. Like after this, I'm literally going with friends up to the top of a mountain, and we're just like, it's living life, right? It's like, how can we be so wealthy every single day? Because you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. And it's like, if I'm fully living in my wealth codes, in my wealthiest era, like, when you have everything you could ever want, billions of dollars in the bank, you're not trying to hustle to get more. Like, why would I wait to get there to live it like I already have it? It's like, how can we live a life that sets our soul on fire every single day, and have more fun and play and dance and be in the symphony of this crazy journey?
Yeah, it's so beautiful, because I think the era that I grew up and started my business in was like girl boss era. So we were all just like working and hustling and doing all the things. Like, I mean, I was busting. And now to be surrounded by women that really are leading by example of living a life that they love first over anything else, it's just such a beautiful thing. And it's such a gift. Like, I really see collectively as a culture and a consciousness, more people are prioritizing their joy, more people are prioritizing their rest, their play. They're kind of unplugging from the systems that make them believe that there's never enough, that they always have to do more, that they're all of these things. And the most feminine way of being is really being in that receptive magnetic mode that you're talking about, and being in full trust and faith. One of my dear friends, Julie Pyatt, Rich Roll's wife, I'll never forget, she had the full faith and belief for 8 years that they would get out of their debt, and that they would get out of their bankruptcy, as their cars were being taken away, as their house was being foreclosed on. She never lost the faith for 8 years, as like the pillar of spirituality and strength in her family. And of course, it eventually ended up working. He is now super successful, all these things. But that faith of where you're going, and that faith that knowing it's going to be better, and that faith of, your soul and the path is just so key.
I love that so much, and I can fully relate. I feel like my life was 33 years of hell on earth. Like it really felt like I couldn't catch a break. Like there was no, like it was like every time I thought I could, even right before the 30, like at 30, I had a very traumatic birth with my third. I had to leave my marriage, burnt my whole life to the ground in Australia. And then just when I moved to Bali, it's like, now you get your heaven on earth phase. And it was interesting because my first year in Bali, all this crazy stuff happened. I had a legal battle with a staff member in Australia. My best friend took his life. My grandma died. My dog died. I had a medical scare I had to fly back home for. But because my consciousness was so expanded, I was so fine. Like I was like, this is great. Like I was so happy. And it's like, the problems never go away. But when you can understand how to be in these higher frequencies because your body's done the work, you're not looking at it the same way, so it can't hurt you. It's like watching a movie. You don't have to die because the movie turns off, It's like you're just watching the movie and you're the observer, and it's like, oh, cool. Like yes, you took your life. I'll cry for a day, but I'm done. Like I'm not going to invest any more time on feeling bad because of a decision that you made. Whereas my father took his life when I was 13, and that would have been like 10 years of grief. So it's interesting to see the levels of consciousness and how we evolve so beautifully through all of these lessons and things like that.
Yeah. And at some point you see, and again, it doesn't need to be immediately that you're like, that was a beautiful experience, like that's also an important part of the process. It's not bypassing. And most people talk about spiritual bypassing. I'm like, you're bypassing yourself. Don't worry about everyone else bypassing. You're bypassing yourself most of the time. And so being in the moment of feeling that feeling fully, but then also like seeing the lesson and having trust. And my dad's really sick right now. And I'm just so grateful for my spiritual practice because it allows me to be truthfully in the moment of where I'm feeling. And then it also allows me to be in the spiritual experience of knowing that this is divine, and knowing that this is all perfect, and knowing that this is a choice for him, and knowing that like, we never truly die or anything like that. And so, yeah, it's been very beautiful for me to have that. And I'm so grateful that you have that. And so many people in your audience have this power of deepening in the spiritual practice in order to live lives that we love.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And something that just came through then as you shared that was, when my friend took his life, I felt his spirit. I can talk to his spirit at any time, and it's that ability to be like, well, yes, you're gone in the 3D physical form, but we always have this ability to connect to these parts of us, and nothing's ever fully lost. And you can connect to the spirit of your ex-husband and detach from the energy and have this beautiful closure by not actually speaking to them in the physical realm. And there's so many ways that we can navigate this reality that are limitless, where we always get stuck in the, well, I must heal like this and it has to be like this and I've got to have a conversation. And it's like, just like take a deep breath and come back into remembering that you're a soul having a human experience. And this is just a car. The car's only got so many modalities. Like, let's be honest, I haven't grown my wings yet, but my backpacking wings. They'll come maybe next lifetime. When the bully
you're like, you just can't see them. They're iridescent. I think that you mentioned access consciousness, and I just started learning more about access consciousness, and that's been interesting because I think what we're talking about here is the limitless, thinking and limitless lifestyle. Is this access consciousness has just blown my mind with that. My teacher that I work with very regularly, that's like his main modality of teaching. And it is crazy how many limits we put on ourselves. Like if you counted in a day, how many you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm tired. It's like, what if you weren't tired? You wake up, you're going, like, I'm going to be late for work. What if you weren't? Like every single thing, every single thought essentially sometimes is a limit or a judgment. And it's a crazy, that has like changed my life.
Oh my gosh, I love it. As you were saying that, because you've got like this kitchen bench in the background, I was like, you can just walk through the kitchen bench straight through to the fridge. Like,
yeah, literally.
Because it's all empty space. It's just moving so fast that it appears solid. And it's like, if we could just believe that we could walk through a wall, we could, but we don't, because it's like, well, let's try and be safe, let's try not to shake things up too much. But it is, and when we can get to that level where it's like, well, why wouldn't $1 million just land today? Why wouldn't my husband just pick me up on a private jet tomorrow? Like, why not? Like, why do we have to go through all these things? And yeah, it's interesting because then it comes up, and this is such a deep conversation we won't have time for today, but just how everything teaches us to understand the physical plane, but then it also limits us as well. It's like, I mean, I love you mentioned earlier, the Kabbalah teachings, and I love all of those teachings. I'm much more philosophical than anything else. And I'm like, it makes so sense because nature and rhythms and all the things on this planet have a unique way and a flow. And then also it's like, but if we're really limitless, if we're really limitless, could we bypass that process? And, every time I've worked with plant medicine recently, especially ayahuasca, grandmother is always like, your medicine is effortless. Like, it's so effortless. And if it's not effortless, it's not you and it's not aligned. And it's fascinating because I'll be bawling my eyes out being like, it's effortless. And
you're like, so when does the effortless start? I'm available. I've had stuff happen in my life effortlessly, and it actually made me scared because it made me look at all the things that don't happen effortlessly. And I was like, ugh. I've been strong arming so much of my life. And when you have an effortless experience, it really, really shows that, which is so wild. But I was thinking about this, and I think a beautiful practice for your audience to do, and this is something I do with my friends, is to help you kind of have a limitless life. I'll sit down with a friend and I'll go through my like ideal day or my ideal job or my ideal relationship or whatever. And then they'll see where I'm limiting myself and they'll help me go bigger. So as an example, if I was like, I wake up in my Malibu home and I go meditate and go to work. She's like, what if you don't have to work? Like, okay, what if, how big is your home? Like how many bathrooms does your home have? Like, do you wake up next to a man? Like, are you waking up next to your husband? What is he like? Like, and just helps bring a lot of color and texture and really just sort of see, because most of us, even when we're doing our ideal day or dream life, are really limiting ourselves. And so it can be really helpful to have a friend kind of like poke holes and help you think bigger.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. As you were speaking, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do that with my friends up in the mountain today. I'm like, we'll just be like living a limitless life. And yeah, it's crazy. I think so big. Like, my dream house has got bowling alleys and like roller coasters, and like I can't help it. I think it was once a trauma pattern. Now it's like just living limitlessly. But I love it. I'm like, if you can see it in your head, you can hold it in your hand. It's already done. You wouldn't want it or desire it if you weren't living it on a different timeline. So you just wouldn't be able to see it if it wasn't already yours.
Wow. So are you talking about, your trauma response? Was it like a limerence where you would have like just really colorful imagination that would kind of get you to disassociate?
100%, yeah. So I was very clairvoyant because of the Yeah, but
it's fascinating just because and I want you to explain, but I just wanted to say the reason why I brought it up. I have a client that I was talking to about this yesterday who has a lot of trauma, and she has limerence as well. And limerence is really the experience of using your imagination and your creativity to sort of live into realities that don't yet exist. It's like obsession in movies, in books. You kind of like feel like you're the character, you feel like you're a part of their process, whatever. But to use that trauma response for your empowerment is actually very interesting, because you could essentially use that same creative gift and that same like non-linear experience for your manifestation, which is actually probably a lot what you've done.
And yeah, so touching on that, and anyone listening that may have this, what I had to do was get into my body. So the thing, because I'm an air sign and I'm very connected spiritually, like I can see people's blocks and colors and, pull things out of people very, very effortlessly. It was also a gift, but it was the inability that I was always like, it's so good, it's so good. And I was disassociating from my body because I was living in a fantasy world instead of being like, okay, you have been through hell. Like, it was like, by the age of 18, I had been homeless, like every terrible thing had happened under the sun. And it was just like, and you know what? It served me. I would not have survived if I didn't have it. So it all serves you. And I think that's the beauty to it as well.
It's so true. And and it's funny because, that's the most empowering thought, is to be like, oh yes, like this was good for me. And I think in life, we can probably point to almost everything being good. And if it's not done, it's not, if it's not good, it's not done. There's this,
Mm.
um, that just belief. And so when we can really see the benefit that it's had to our lives, and I mean everything that I've gone through that's been hard has been incredibly beautiful for my dharma and my service in life. And it took me feeling it all the way and being present for the grief of it and the pain, and then really being in the truth and alchemy of what it's benefited me for.
Mm. I love that so much. It's so, so, so powerful. And I mean, I could talk to you for hours. You've just such a encyclopedia of like world knowledge and beauty.
Oh, wait, I just thinking you. I'm like, wow, we're going everywhere.
I know, but my dream day is like I wake up in the morning, I jump on a private jet, then I'll go to Paris for breakfast, then I'll go to the Maldives for lunch, like, and just, do a few fun things here and there. Like, it's just, oh my gosh.
Are
Like,
you alone, or who are you with?
with my husband, but also friends. Like, I
Love
think for
that.
me, it's having the, like the $1 billion home to have everyone in it. Like, I don't want to go anywhere. I want everyone to come to me. Like, I've always loved to be the host, but it's effortless. I've got people helping me. There's support everywhere. I've got incredible staff that I treat like family. Like, it's, I've lived in this reality so many times. I know it's already done. I've connected to the spirit of my private jets. Like, it's done, it's there. It's just I've got this beautiful journey that I get to be on, and I get to live in this moment now, and I love every second of it. And I always think, like, I'm single now, and if I ever have a moment where I'm like, well, where is he? And I'm like, you're gonna be with him forever. Like, enjoy being single now. Like, I've felt his spirit more times than I can tell you. He's already here, but it's enjoy the journey. Like, just enjoy it. Squeeze the juices out of life, because the journey is what makes the manifestation so delicious, not the manifestation.
Totally. Yeah. And that process of being single until partner is so beautiful. It's just, I had never been single, in my life until after my divorce. And it was just the most beautiful experience of really, truly figuring out who I was and becoming the woman that I am. And yeah, it's such a special portal for women that are going post breakup to be single.
Mm, my gosh. Like, I just need to hear you speak more. So everyone that's listening in, actually, before you share where they can
Mhm.
find you, is there anything that's channeling through that you'd love to just share with everybody now? Any last codes of wisdom or abundance coming through?
Yeah, I think that there's what's been coming through a little bit for me lately has been the fact that a lot of women in my community, and probably yours, are like chosen ones. And Law of One talks about this as like just like fifth dimensional entities that came to just raise consciousness. And so they feel very lost right now because we're just at a precipice time on Earth with so much changing, so much happening, so much AI kind of changing and evolving things. So I think a lot of people are waiting for orders for what their next thing is to do, what their next, step is, what their next business is, their next thing. And I think this is when we're at a point where we're now creating the reality, not living in response to it. So it really is just going to take a lot of us to be more diligent about the reality that we're creating right now, the heaven on earth that we want. And so just reminding us that this opportunity where it feels very confusing and we feel lost in a lot of ways is actually right and beautiful, because now we're at a point where we're going to be creating the new earth and the new reality, and this is as it should be. So just offering that, because I feel like a lot of the women in my community feel very lost and feel very confused and feel very like uninspired and not really sure where they're going. And this is when it can get really good. And so just reminding us all of that.
Mm. So, so, so beautiful and so true. If anybody, well, I'm sure everybody now is going to be like, where can we find her? Where are the best places to soak up your medicine, to come into your world?
Yeah, I would love to connect with your community. So Instagram, it's Krista. So it's ITSKRISTA. And then I do retreats. So I work with women very deeply and intimately on retreat. I'm doing one in Ibiza in October. And then I do one-on-one work with women. And then Almost 30 is the podcast. You can listen to the podcast twice a week. We have amazing interviews with guests. And I have solo episodes where I kind of deep dive on my teaching. But I'm excited to connect with them. And I've loved our conversation. I feel it doesn't get past me that, the person that was in the corporate world for so long, that was just desperate and parched for deep conversation and for honesty and truth, and to have expansive conversations like this, gets to have them now. And so thank you, for reminding me of that, of how beautiful it is that I can connect with someone all over the world and just have a really beautiful conversation that feels good for both of us and hopefully is in service to others.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for being here, for your light, for your truth, for your work. And yeah, thank you.
You're the best. Have fun on that mountain. I can't wait to hear what's going to come. I need to be the first one to know about that dream ride.
Just be at the top of the mountain voice noting you.
Yeah, literally. Like, I didn't catch any of that, but I loved it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, baby. I appreciate you.
Thank you for being here today. If you feel activated from this episode, please leave us a like, please hit the subscribe, and please share whereabouts in the world you're viewing this from, or your biggest takeaway. It's such an honor to serve you today and remind you how powerful you truly are. If you'd like to go deeper and unlock your soul's medicine, then click on the link below. I love you. See you again soon.